boost this video, let's talk about what's going on in Tennessee right now. This is Bradley County Jail in Tennessee, where people are being held in terrible and inhumane conditions due to COVID. They started holding signs up to the windows to get messages out, like this one, and I'm gonna read a few. 14-day quarantine, no tests, no masks, no way to communicate with outside or family, no court dates. Nobody is given underwear, socks, or bras, women bleeding on themselves denied medical attention. No mask, 13 days, housed with daily new people. I'm 35 weeks pregnant. People then started protesting outside and putting pressure on the jail, and this was their response. Putting screens over the windows so the people inside could no longer communicate with the protesters. These people have no masks or hand sanitizer, and the jail is constantly bringing in new people. This is not an isolated incident. This is happening to incarcerated people all over our country right now. If you want to help, here's the contact information for the mayor's staff in Bradley County. And I can't put the link in my bio right now, but if you just search this, you can get the petition, and you can search this to donate to the bail fund. We need to help these people.
Hey fam! Welcome to Punks for Progress. I am Reverend Aaron. On this episode of the What the Fuck Report, we're going to spend the entire time with our comrade, J.M. Carico, who I have waiting over here off camera at the moment, but I wanted to, before I switch to him, I wanted to show you that this is the Foxtails Brigade that we're listening to from Sacramento. Anyway, let's switch on over with no further whatever and whatever. Comrade Carico, welcome to Punks for Progress.
Hey, what's up, comrade?
Not a whole lot. The question is, what's up with you? Because you reached out to Punks for Progress just the other day, because there's a number of things that you and your comrades are working on that are important, and you felt more people needed to hear about it, so you thought, why not come to our small crowd and see what we could do? And so here we are, and again, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on.
And we're definitely going to get into all of that, all the stuff that you comrades have been working on, what you're building up to, what's been going on. But how are you, comrade?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm real busy. I'm sure a lot of folks are. You know, the movement's really picked up in a way that we haven't seen, ever. And so I've been real inundated with everything. But doing well. I'm glad about the progress we're making and to see the social change that we've needed for a long time actually within reach.
Excellent. So I guess we might as well just go ahead and get into it. Let's start right from the beginning. There's no beginning point because the struggle is an ongoing timeline, right?
17.
Right. Yeah, so... But there was a specific sort of, I think, kind of spontaneous action by a couple of people that led to bigger things that have now led to what's going on. Why don't we get us back to the spontaneous moment, I guess?
So this is there's this place in Cleveland, Tennessee, near Chattanooga, Tennessee, about 2 hours outside of Nashville. It's where I live and predominantly my whole life. The Bradley County Justice Center is the jail there. It does have federal inmates. It spends about 10% of the entire county budget. There was someone who had their family incarcerated. They had been to maybe one protest their entire life. They made a video of the video call, of conference call, with a visitation call with their incarcerated partner. And they put it on Facebook, and it got pretty good local virality, if you will. And then from there, her friend also saw this, and she also had a partner incarcerated, and so they got together and they made a petition to get masks for their partners who were in jail.
Word.
And from there, their roommates joined up with them because they also had an incarcerated person in and had been formerly incarcerated. And that petition got in the last month started, has over 150,000 signatures.
Nice.
We've been on one of the TikTok videos about this went viral. They called him a Vice. Now this. We've been on local news media, but we've also raised over $40,000 to help a bail fund, establish a bail fund and a larger nonprofit that can help the incarcerated in Tennessee from booking all the way to when they get out, and how we can help them outreach with other folks who are establishing programs in the local area, but really to address the systemic issue of bail as a concept. And the way that this started was we did a noise demo one day. We started coming out and playing music outside the jail, and they started showing us signs and putting signs in the windows. And then we started taking pictures of those signs, and that got viral too. So then they eventually started trying to tell us that we were deciding a riot if we stood out there, and they really don't want to communicating with us. So we've been doing mutual aid every Tuesday with Thursday outside of the arraignments. We've been giving out water and then taking people's testimony, and we're making a video series called The Horrors of the Injustice Center. And we're going to be putting all those testimonies out on there, whether it be a written letter that we received, whether it be a phone call that we recorded, or whether it be somebody who's recently released. And one of the major parts of this is that we're working with a law firm that is has been working for 2 years on forming a class action lawsuit. And going back all the way to September 2017, if you were incarcerated in the Bradley Justice Center, you will be receiving a letter and seeing if you were basically an Eighth Amendment violation, deliberate neglect or indifference, essentially, wherein if somebody asked for something and they were told to go to the kiosk, just go over and over again and not actually have their needs met, their medical needs especially. And we have horror stories, like this guy was using a mop bucket to get around, or like a push part of the mop bucket thing to get around because he didn't have a wheelchair. People had broken femurs, and the person had to wait 24 hours, and he was told put it in the kiosk, and anything like that, or where there's stories of pads on the floor and people not getting their pads, either extreme. People in there suffering from extreme mental health issues, obviously, and not being any sort of treatment for that. There's only one person in Bradley County that's hired by the state to deal with mental health. We another gentleman only had one lung and he was asking for a mask. And a CO came back into the facility without a sometimes with a mask, sometimes without one, saying he had tested positive. There are pretty people who are testing positive and negative in cells together.
Whoa, wait, hold on. Let me make sure I heard you right on that part. So there's a fucking pig hack deputy, whatever, that has said at least that he's tested positive for COVID, and he sometimes wears a mask or not, and he's coming in contact with a dude that's running on one lung.
Well, inmates in general, like that, and he was symptomatic. He was symptomatic, and he was
wow.
He was the one delivering their food. So they said there was 33. They said there was 33. Now they say there's 0 since we started. Now I will say this: Lawson, the current guy, is better than Watson. But what I mean by that is the sheriff, the guy who runs it. But Watson was a shit show, like an absolute shit show. He was real corrupt, and so anybody's going to be slightly, going to be better. But what the class action lawsuit will do is get everybody who was incarcerated during that time, 2017 to now, they get a chance to say that and get money for.
Okay, yeah. So let's stop on that real quick then. So. You've had a changeover, and who's the sheriff that's basically in charge of your local county jail, right? And so I should elaborate, I guess, for people who don't know, for listeners, watchers, that like the sheriff that you elect to your county is whose name goes on everything at your county jail. So it's the sheriff that is now responsible for who's in your local jail, and So you had a recent change in your sheriffs, and it's come out that the long-standing prior sheriff was corrupt. Can you give maybe an example, maybe one or two examples of the type of corruptions, or at least just one?
Because he got booked in his own facility for DUI. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, let's just say.
Wow.
But his wife divorced him like 2 weeks later, and she's a bail bondsman.
If that's not a racket. Yeah, honey, you go out, you knock them down, and then we'll get 10% off every arrest you make. That's disgusting, comrade. That is disgusting. That is blatant trafficking in people. So, okay. So what you and your comrades are saying then clearly, and it sounds to me like you have very good cause to make this claim, that basically any arrest this motherfucker made, anyone that would have been brought into that county jail and had bail serviced by this bail bondsman should be under review.
I agree 100%. Now, the scope of the lawsuit that's currently being pursued is smaller. It's about medical, deliberate neglect, essentially, and also potentially overcrowding. The judge is on our side, and honestly, I think this would be good for everybody because it will give so this is a very Republican red space. You know what I mean? They're not going to want things to go to this, to make it better because they don't care, right?
Right.
But if the federal government steps in and says you have to do this, then even electorally they can pass the buck and say it was them who made us do it. We wouldn't have done it otherwise. So they'll have not as much political heat on them. So on both sides, it really is a win-win, even for everybody. So I don't think I think it's going to win. I think we're going to win this lawsuit. But that's just like a smaller thing in the larger. So we want to end bail. You shouldn't be in jail just because you can't.
Absolutely.
Just because you're poor. That's ridiculous. Pretrial detention. And honestly, I'm for prison abolition, obviously, and not all of my comrades are for that who are working together in this, because these folks are brand new to activism. I can't stress enough. These folks have zero experience, and it's amazing what they've been able to do in such an amount of time. Like, there's only like 2 other folks who have any experience in activism at all, and most of that is not very much.
And let me say, comrade.
But that being said, they're directly affected, and they're doing amazing work. All things considered, we had a budget meeting today. We met with homeless outreach people. We got 10 people out of jail. We've got plenty of commissary to help out in the meantime a little bit, and just to get testimonies and stuff out. We're working on things that are systemic, like recycling the bail fund, so we don't, using bail, not bonds people, obviously. So if you want to replicate this in your local area, some of the things that you may want to avoid are working with bonds people. I know it's less money, but if you have the money, you can recycle it as long as you know that person's going to go back to court. When you make phone calls, get a point person on the outside, because you want to be able to talk to somebody on the outside who can give you messages on how to spend so much money. Those are some things that you can do if you're trying to get involved with something like your local area, because there is a lot of bail reform all over the country, and that's a big issue.
Well, it sounds like, okay, so you're in Tennessee, correct?
That's correct.
And what is the population of your county, roughly? Do you know?
Let me look real quick. I can find that out.
It's roughly
I'm in Bradley County.
It's not like a major metropolis community, right? I mean, it's...
We're about 100,000.
Okay, yeah. So what that... Generally, a county with 100,000... Listen, I live in Reno, Nevada, which is roughly, 500,000 or 600,000 people? And that's not even Washoe County. And we're struggling to put together a real solid leftist infrastructure. And look, if you go to and you look at places like that have long-standing leftist, revolutionary communist parties, anarchist collectives, IWW branches, PSL, Workers' World Party, where all of this stuff is real prevalent. One of the first things that happens is a substantial program for people who get arrested. What is the plan? Where is the fund? Who do you go to? That's almost kind of like when you're getting very serious and it's no fucking around time anymore, this is what you do, right? You begin the work of, because you have to accept that we're up against a literal criminal fascist state that has no regard for the law at all, and they're going to break the law, and then they're going to arrest you when they broke the law, right?
Right. Yes.
And so it's not, that's why, I stress that, because I want to make it clear to people who may be new to this type of discussion that it's not like, oh, we're out to break all these laws and we got to have our backs covered so we can go do criminalizing. It's because we're going to be arrested for bullshit reasons. And, you come out and you go, if a Klan comes out in your town and you come out and go, hey, that's the Klan and they suck and they're racist and we don't want you here, cops will, attack you and arrest you for shit and make up shit.
Yeah, they can threaten your life, and the cops can see that happen, witness it happen, not give a crap. But if you're playing music outside of a jail, you can get charged with inciting a riot. They want to maintain the status quo because the status quo maintains recidivism, and recidivism maintains their funds. They put 10% of the county funds into this place. You don't think they're making way more than that out of it?
Right. Well, and look, I mean, it's no secret that the cornerstone of American capitalism has always been the traffic in human bodies. It's slavery by private ownership prior to the 13th Amendment and slavery by state ownership post the 13th Amendment, because of that exception clause that slavery shall be abolished in the United States unless duly convicted of a crime.
Yes. And that's that. And then even further than that, they can only have religious programs in this particular jail, and then they have a workhouse. They don't get paid very almost at all, and then they and then they're told, like, okay, well, we need to, and this is the sad part. The liberal response is oftentimes, well, how can we get these folks back into the workforce, where it's not that much better in terms of worker rights, and that's the only solution. Is not, and that's why we have to have a holistic solution for
Absolutely.
Bradley County, for everywhere. We have to have a labor spokes council, we have to have a jail spokes council, a homeless outreach spokes council, and all these folks work in tandem, but they zoom in and cut issues. I would recommend that if you have an area or a group in your area if you're brand new to organizing, one of the most valuable tools that I've heard from anybody is either a justice type school or community organizing, like 8-week or 8-day course. They have these they call them sway campaigns sometimes. If you find one of those, it'll teach you how to cut an issue, how to budget, how to figure, and how to avoid pitfalls of the nonprofit industrial complex, and how to not get screwed over by people who are trying to exploit your goodwill. Or, for instance, the environmental movement, a lot of times with cleanups. Who benefits from you going and cleaning that up? The corporation that did it doesn't have to pay as much. And so it's our heart's in the place of we want to help people, but we have to and that's understandable, but sometimes we want to help directly, and that's super important. We should do the anarchist shit and go do it ourselves. But sometimes we got to make those fuckers do it because they owe us, and they have the money.
And it's I think that anti-capitalist, revolutionary, socialist organizers, whether communist, anarchists, whatever, it's we're kind of perpetually working at two goals simultaneously. There is always our eyes and our long-term goals on ending capitalism, right, and freeing the people from their bonds of slavery. That's the ultimate goal. But we can't, we have to work towards that goal in congruence with recognizing in no uncertain terms that the struggle is real right now, though, too. We can't just be letting our comrades fall by the wayside because we're just trying to end capitalism, and and thank you for pointing out that being careful of the NGO industrial complex and which I'm not against people starting nonprofit organizations. I think can be so useful. You just have to do your homework when you're coming up against that, and when you're seeing that that's who Because it says good stuff on the surface doesn't always mean it's, the greatest avenue to throw your support behind. But
exactly.
But again, it's so I guess I'm just trying to commend you and your comrades, my friend. That I know that you're definitely focused on the larger goal, which is getting rid of this capitalist fucking fascist bullshit, this imperialist crap. And but when you're in that work, that fascist imperialist state, man, it does everything it can to step on you and destroy you.
Yeah, that's what we have to meet people's material. I think that ideology is a good teacher. It's not a great partner, and that if we really want to get people to know that we have capacity for and legitimacy, then we have to meet their material needs better than the current system. And once we do that, then regardless of ideological barrier, they're going to come through, and that praxis itself informs their experience, and then that propaganda isn't as useful against them, in the benefit of the elite.
No, absolutely. So you're starting out. Where are you right now? Let's get us up to speed. So yeah, we're kind of talking in the bigger picture. Like, yeah, you're starting a bail fund and stuff. But let's back it up a little bit then. You had some activities, you had some actions. You're realizing that you had mentioned to me briefly earlier when we were talking off camera about the things that you're focused on right now and the programs you're trying to put in place are all about prioritizing where your resources are going to go, right?
Yeah.
So let's maybe talk. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, if you could?
So what we want to do, is that you get this bail and you go to a bond person, and first, we were doing the bonds person because we just didn't really think about it. But then we talked to an expert who's been doing this for a long time with the No Exceptions Prison Collective, and they're like, you shouldn't go to a bond person, you go to bail because you can recycle that money. So we started doing that, and we created a moratorium on the bonds, and unless we vote, and it's like specifically something that would be like, this person needs to get out for either health reasons or they would be a benefit to the larger strategic. We have to strategically figure out how we're going to use this, and that means no domestic users, of course. We're not going to get any domestic users out of jail, because they could go back and do that, again. We want somebody who has a point person on the outside, so to make sure they return to court. Somebody who's going to be, and we want mutual aid, not charity, because we would like for them to help engage with us. You know what I mean, and help engage us on the outside. That way, we can build this together and build a bigger community. And then we're doing programs even inside of our group, like buying in bulk for things like staple food supplies, because we see each other anyway. So if we go to Costco and buy stuff together, then we're saving money, within that group. And so we can make this into something that we can do sustainably for ourselves. And so we're doing all sorts of stuff. We had a meeting with a lawyer for about 4 hours about who to bring them to. They can actually go in on the inside. We're meeting with homeless outreach people, and they have a program that we may be able to get and go inside and talk to people as part of that too, so that we can, because everything costs money, like phones, all these things. Now, if we had $1 million grant and one day we wanted to just say, okay, every prisoner's going to have free calls for a year, well, that would be one thing. You know what I mean? That was something we fundraised for and wrote for, and those could be things that we could do. But is that systemic change, or does that just go to secure a call or whatever it's called and benefit them? It would be beneficial for everybody involved to be able to have more phone calls, but will it create real systemic change? So there's just different things that we're going to do and see, kind of like you run a fundraiser, you run an event, you see if that raises funds for this particular program. So we've already raised a bail fund program under our when we have a nonprofit, that's going to be the bail fund program underneath that. And then you run another program that does this, and then you work conjunction with other groups already doing other things, plug people into the issues that are intersectionally linked. And I think that's how you kind of start. You cut an issue of like, what is it that you want to see that's kind of like everybody can kind of grasp onto. And then once you have the momentum, once everybody's saying, oh, you're the group to go to for this thing, you'll have so much work, and you'll know when you hear it, like, oh shit. And then you find if there's precedents for a class action lawsuit, talk to a law firm that's on your side. Those are the kind of things you can do to press issues and get them further and further. Talk to your political people during elective cycles and say what they say about it, and get them, quote them. Those are the kind of things that you can do to build momentum, build power. Talk to local officials and hold their feet to the fire on what promises they make. Like the sheriff, for instance, he said he doesn't. If an officer is if a CO is denying patients pads, then he wants to know about it. So because he said that, I mean, anytime we hear about patients having pads, we should blow his phone up. Now, we don't want to talk to cops, but at the same time, we want to take up their time and get them to do the thing and hold their feet to the fire, and it'll be an inconvenience to them to the point where maybe they'll just give the women their pads and control over their fucking bodies.
So they're not providing masks for the people in your local county jail?
They weren't. Now, ever since this has happened, people have been donating in droves for this, like donating in droves.
So it took the community,
jails.
let's just be clear, it took the community providing masks for these human beings to have masks so that they could survive when they're rammed into a fucking slavery cage, where they're so much more susceptible to catching it and to spreading it. But no, the state of Tennessee and your county did not provide that service.
No, and they don't. There's a lot of like horror stories in relation to this, just about putting people together in pods. Like, okay, you have 12 days of quarantine, but on the 13th day there'd be somebody new come in, who had refused a test, maybe, so it just didn't. And then people from the court are coming in, and they're trying to keep, they're trying on that side to like wipe down everything and stuff like that. But they got inmates in there who are the ones wiping it down, and they're not getting paid to do that. And so they're exposed to it more than anybody. It's like they're guinea pigs,
And with county jails, it's like, yeah, I guess depending on how corrupt your local sheriff's department is, determines this actual statistic. But a lot of people in every county jail have not, nor will they be, convicted of anything.
Right. They're on what's called pretrial detention. Right. And pretrial detention makes it to where you're there, you haven't been tried, but you don't have enough money to get out. Like, you maybe $250, on a bond, or like or $2,500 in bail, and that maybe your family doesn't have that, and you are now, even without trial, you are now exposed to and traumatized and tortured in a facility behind bars, locked up people who are traumatized themselves, or and that just leads to this kind of like continual recidivism, which makes money for the jails, and so it's.
Well, yeah, because once you're in the cycle, there's going to be fees and things that keep hitting you with, and all these requirements and things that make it, the reason that you are having to do pre-trial, what did you say, pre-trial, pre-trial detention is because chances are you live paycheck to paycheck. Any type of new fine or extra added expense to your life could cause it all to come crumbling down. This is the average person in this country's disposition, right? And so, and it's not just the bail. It's, let's just, J20, for example, the J20 candidates. Here's an example of people who ultimately had charges dropped, but it cost so many of them thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, because in the lead up to the trial and all this stuff, these people came from states all over the place. They had to travel back to the town to appear in courts, all at their own expense, all this kind of stuff. Now, maybe that's not specifically everybody's case at your local county jail.
Right. I gave my comrade ride to J20's trials a couple times.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
I gave my comrade Spencer a ride to the J20 trials a couple times.
So there So you see what I'm... Yes, thank you. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But each and every individual's situation is different, right? But like I said, if you're sitting in there, we're not Roger Stone, where we get to show up to court in a nice suit and look like a real respectable whatever fascist scumbag piece of shit. we can't afford to get out, so you got to show up in your orange suit or your blue suit or whatever the state issued thing is. So you already look like the criminal when you show up in court, right? Because again, it's all about money. It's all, is your I probably should have asked from the start. Is your county, I would venture to say your county jail is either, if not full on privately owned, at least has privately owned services within it. But
yes, there are probably the COs are some of the COs are contracted. The health staff is contracted. The vendors, like the food services contract, I believe.
Always, yeah.
And so, and then also on top of that, there's a lot of contracted folks out.
Right. So the facility itself is probably run by the actual county, but everything that's done inside is run by a company who has a profit. It is there to make a profit at the end of the day, so they need bodies.
They even have propaganda posters outside promoting their call line, like their visitation line, and it says like "Stay out of jail." Like that's the promotion to the people who are going to visitation. Stay out of jail. Like,
unbelievable.
Like there's mocking it,
Yeah. So you're trying to build the basic infrastructure to get it set up so that if people actually get into the day one process, if they're stuck in day one of the process of being put in a local jail, but you're also, I know you mentioned earlier, the larger goal for this specific effort and this organizing effort is you're pushing end of bail, correct? The end of bail ultimately.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of goals that we have. End of bail, would be amazing. That's a national goal of a program that's kind of like, I'm not necessarily involved with anybody in it, but I know that there's a big bail reform program. Locally, we want to get a federal investigation. We want to get a human rights investigation. We want to form this class action lawsuit, which will get more federal funding that's earmarked for specific things that can't just be used for anything, but it has to be used for specific things that will benefit the conditions in there. And then to build these networks more holistically across the Bradley County area, of course, is a large part of that as well.
Excellent. Wow. There's so much that has to be done,
Well, another thing is that we have, like, for instance, so harm reduction would be an amazing program that could be implemented here. There's a methadone clinic in Chattanooga, I believe. But what's happening is that people are driving back from there, back to Cleveland, and then you mentioned like people not being from there. That's another thing. People will be coming in from here and get arrested there, not having any money to get out, and then they're stuck here. They don't even know where they're at when they come out.
Right.
And so like we want to get lift tickets and work with different folks to be able to help them with their immediate needs when they get out. And regardless of whether or not they're going to help with the program as a whole, that's just whatever. But we would love for anyone who we do engage with on any level or who has any sort of person incarcerated to help, build something to continue to work with us, because you want to build something that makes it to where you don't have to have that situation again. There's 321 people in the jail right now, supposedly, according to the sheriff. According to people inside, there's over 400. So we don't know.
Wow, you can't even get straight numbers about how many people are in the jail.
No. That's the thing. Is when you get in there, you're silenced so the prisoners, the incarcerated people, don't have voices. The sheriff can sort of release a press release and stuff like that. The county news will come out maybe once to see what's happening, because there's a big signatures on change.org or whatever. But then they'll just go back to whatever they were talking about before.
And they're not interviewing the inmates inside the facility. They're interviewing the CO pigs or the sheriff or the local district attorney or.
They came to us. And we had
they did
different news organizations, but again, it's only 2 minutes. They're constrained with what they can, with how much they can use, and so we really do need like other outlets to be able to help more people to reach out. But that's why we started that YouTube show, to be able to like get people's voices out there and record and let people know what's going on. And we're also passing a lot of that over to lawyers and helping them. To help the incarcerated people to be heard and to have compensation for this, and eventually we want to get non-violent offenders out of jail We want to help people who are, who have done some terrible things, to be able to realize what they've done, to be able to get them over the trauma that they did, to be able to help them pay restitution to the people that they've hurt, to be able to help them to never do that again, and just be able to speak on behalf of people who were in that situation to show what went wrong. Because it didn't start there. It started with all the million variables of snowball effects that happened before that choice was made, and they didn't have control over that. Nobody does,
Right.
And so it's all holistic. It comes down to labor rights. It comes down to housing rights. It comes down to civil rights. And all of those things have to happen in congruence. And in order to do that, we have to form alternative institutions that meet the needs of people better than the current system, unless the system will work with us, which on occasion it will. And we can use it, but that's dual power, right?
Absolutely. And so that's what you and your comrades are doing. So tell me, comrade, I'm going to fill up my water, but I'm listening to you. And here's my question. What is priority one right now for you and your comrades? What is it that not only you want other people to hear is necessary, needs to be done, but what can they do to help you? Again, what is your first priority? What are you guys working on first and foremost, and what can people do to help facilitate that effort?
So right now, our major focus right now, honestly, it's kind of an inner focus. It's forming a nonprofit 501c3 and getting all that taken care of, so that everything is legally good, and we're able to do this in the most effective way possible. And for programs, right now, locally, if anybody's listening locally, please come out to the mutual aid on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 12. Please, we are going to be doing a candlelight vigil here in the near future. You'll be able to hear about that. We're not allowed to do noise demos anymore, so we're going to be doing a candlelight vigil. We're going to be doing art exhibits of a play where we reenact some of the horrible things that have happened in the jail.
Fantastic.
So what we really need is for people to share the petition, share the bail funds, share any videos about it. Go on our page, which is right now called Bradley County Incarcerated Resolutions, but we're working on the name.
And we'll have links for all of this in the description box. And just to be clear. Go ahead.
And reach out to us. Reach out to us and show your support. The people here are new and they want to hear, they need words from veteran activists. They need advice. And we need, people who to show solidarity and to get numbers out to, to demonstrate, to help. The more people we have to help make calls, to do any of this stuff that we're already doing, we'll take some of the slack off folks, because when unemployment comes up or when unemployment's over in just a little bit, a lot of these folks are going to have to go back into the system, because these folks were, brand new activists, and they were working at Logan's and stuff beforehand, or Cleveland State. And so we need more people. We need people from all around the world to show folks that they're listening and that they hear us here, because that gives us the morale boost.
Word.
Every time they see somebody from California even being like, "Oh, cool, we like what you're doing," they are just so ecstatic. And then I think the morale of our group, and letting these new activists, these brand new activists know you're so proud of what they're doing, because this is unprecedented. I've never seen. We have a friend who's been doing this for a long time, and they took them 5 months as a nonprofit to raise as much as we raised in the first 3 weeks.
Wow.
So I think that this is something big, and I think it's not because this since 2004 when this place opened up, there's been horror stories and stuff coming out, and there's been 3 federal investigations. It's been if Bradley County Justice Center can be changed and turned into something different and was shut down, then it can happen at your place too, because this is one of the worst of the worst. Now, the people in power do not say that, but that's what it is. It is.
Fantastic, comrade. No, I mean really. Look, and the reason I so appreciate, among many reasons, but one of the reasons I so appreciate you coming on and explaining this to us is because, there's a lot of communities out there. Again, I mentioned Bay Area and New York and stuff. There's some kind of very long-standing infrastructure, leftist infrastructure in those places. But the vast majority of this country does not have that. America does not have a really solid leftist infrastructure. It does not. If you listen to Fox News, you'd think that, leftists are ruling the roost, from some tyrannical stoop of power, but we're not. We're really super struggling to just look out for each other out here, right? But there's ways to do that properly, and there's time-tested ways, and it sounds to me like you and your comrades are clearly looking at what other people have done and the processes, and, I'm hearing mutual aid and I'm bail funds, and just the terminology you're using it's clearly in keeping with other organizers' activities and stuff as well. So I commend you and thank you so much. And thank you to all of the JM's comrades out there that aren't on the stream right now that are doing all this work. We talk about you being new, whatever. Just thank you so much for giving a shit enough to fucking do this and to understand it's not just about, look, so much love and appreciation for people who take the time to organize an action or a demo, or a march or a forum. That stuff is crucial and important too. But if you want that stuff to be effective, there's a second part, a much more behind the scenes infrastructure that has to be built. And this is the beginnings of how you do it in a community. So for people, this would be a great time for people just to follow what you guys are doing and see the progress and see, the steps that you're taking so that they can maybe learn for themselves too. And so thanks.
What am I doing?
No, for real. And again, so we're going to put all the links for everything into the description box. But please, Jam, can you run off the different names of things, the links, the pages that people need to go to and check it out?
So yeah, Bradley Incarcerated Resolutions. It may be called Bradley Incarcerated Solutions right now. I don't know the page name. I'm not sure which one it was. That's going to be on Facebook. And then we'll have a YouTube channel very, very soon that we're setting up. We have our first video ready to be edited right now. I'm on Facebook as JM Carico, and there's I don't know if my comrades really want me to put their names out there like that, but if you hit me up, I'll get you in touch with the folks who are doing who are also helping spearhead this project. And again, I want to thank them because they've been, they're doing so much, and they've done so much, and they don't even know how much they've done because they have no barometer for previous experience. They don't realize that they're doing that they've done this much. They don't get how good this is yet. Maybe they do a little bit, but they can't. It's amazing. It's unprecedented. Like I said.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And thank you to them and to you for watching. And please hit up all those links. Please go to the page. Do what you can and get involved, to follow, to offer. If you're an organizer that has experience and maybe has some resources or links for things that might be helpful to them, please send it their way. And Comrade Carico.
Definitely help out. Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Comrade Carico, thank you so much for coming on Punks for Progress. And listen, once things start getting rolling a little bit better, come hit us up. Give us an update, in a couple month or so, something like that. I would love to have you come back on and talk more about what's been going on with this effort.
All right, thank you so much for having me again, and thank you for putting a spotlight on this issue.
You got it, comrade. My pleasure. Hey, so how was that? Comrade Carico, hanging out for 40 minutes or so, talking about what they and their comrades are doing over there in Tennessee. Still listening to Foxtails Brigade. Self-titled track. By the way, that's a clear vinyl 7-inch. Just saying. It's the little things that make me happy. But yeah, please make sure to check into the description box for the links. And, but thank you so much to Comrade Carico for hanging out and giving us that insight into the early stages of what it takes to organize and build infrastructure for proper leftist organizing in your community. And, it starts with prisoners, man. In so many cases, not in every case, but in many, Anyway, just once again, thanks so much to Comrade Carico for hanging out. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you hanging out and taking the time to check in with us. And if you are an organizer and you saw something you felt like maybe you have some resources or I don't know, just some experience to share that you think will be definitely useful to them, please do reach out to them and let them know. And so before we get out, I want to say much love, much thanks, much appreciation to anyone and everyone who gets out and does whatever they can to help whoever they can to make life just a little bit better for people. So thanks for hanging out on the What the Fuck Report. I'm Reverend Aaron, and we'll see you next time.
What's up, y'all? We are here live on the Bradley County Justice Center. I'm going to switch it over. So we are out here, and we are just a few of us here, and we're hoping for more people. But as you can see, there's tape on the windows, so folks can't see out. Folks can't see to be able to put up notes. Folks can't like look out very well. They can hear us, but they can't communicate with us. When we have members of press present, and so that's pretty awful. Also, they've, if you read today, they've made it to where they've been threatening folks with inciting a riot just for putting up signs in the windows to tell us about how bad the conditions are. But we have about 3 folks who are willing to do testimonials so far and do a class action lawsuit. We're trying to get more. If you're interested in doing that, you can hit us up. We want to put down testimonials, even if it's anonymous, about the human rights violations that are happening here, and get a federal investigation, get as much pressure put on this as possible by as many watchdog groups and associations as possible, so that we can, get as much noise as possible to the people, so that the public can put pressure on the government to stop this human rights atrocity. Right now we're also bonding somebody out. So a lot of our comrades are on the other side. They're out bonding somebody out right now. We've been able to raise $30,000 in 3 weeks. We've been able to get over 150,000 signatures. We've gotten 10 folks released. We are going to be releasing more folks very soon. Right now, as a matter of fact, there's somebody getting released. And I think that's where everybody's gone. But as you can see, we have signs. We're letting people know. We're taking calls. We're getting testimonials. Please come out and join us. We're going to be doing this almost every night. So if you're interested, it's 7 to 9 every night. And then also on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do mutual aid for folks awaiting arraignment. Now, a lot of the folks in here, you may say, well, if these folks are in jail, that they shouldn't have done anything wrong. Well, a lot of these folks are on pretrial detention. That means they haven't even been to trial yet. And you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. But these folks aren't innocent until proven guilty. They're just in there in horrible, inhumane conditions during a pandemic. And then they say that there's nobody left in there. There was 33, and then miraculously there's none. That doesn't make any sense. They say there's 323 people in here. There's a capacity of 350, but I've heard there's up to 510 people in here, and that there's never been less than 480. And usually it's way overcrowded. So there's a lot of things to be investigated here, a lot of things to be looked into. So if you are interested in coming out and helping support the people who are here because they're innocent, the people who are here because of a bullshit crime that doesn't hurt anybody, people who are here right now looking out the window for us, and we're just trying right now to show support to them, and try to show them that there's we're not gonna show who exactly, but there's because they have been trying to threaten folks and to give them negative rapport in terms of the way they treat them. They're putting on lockdown if they say anything about the conditions in there to us. But there's people on the outside who are also willing to talk to us, who've been there before, who know what it's like in there. And we're just trying to get more and more of those messages out there and get conditions bettered or get this place shut down. So now we're coming back. We're doing some chants and stuff. It's getting a little bit late, but if y'all want to come out, we'll be out here every night. We're gonna be out here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to like around 1:30. Y'all can come out anytime between there. We have water and snacks. People waiting arraignment, like I said earlier. So just thank you all so much for all your support. Everybody in the jail appreciates it, and thank you so much.